The downfalls of tariffs in the world of global trade. Tariffs are often seen as a tool to protect local industries. They are taxes imposed on imports, making foreign products more expensive. But what happens when tariffs go too far? Let's explore the unintended consequences. While tariffs can seem like a way to boost domestic production, they can also hurt industries that rely on imported goods. Local manufacturers who use imported raw materials may face higher costs, leading to increased prices for consumers and reduced competitiveness in the global market. When tariffs are imposed, consumers pay the price. Everyday products, from electronics to food, become more expensive. A small price increase can add up quickly, making it harder for families to make ends meet. For businesses that rely on global supply chains, tariffs create uncertainty. Rising costs can lead to lower profits, less investment, and, in some cases, layoffs. Small businesses are particularly vulnerable, as they may not have the resources to absorb these added expenses. Tariffs can also disrupt trade relationships. When one country imposes tariffs, it's not uncommon for other countries to retaliate. This creates a cycle of rising tensions and trade wars that hurt everyone involved. In the long run, tariffs can undermine international cooperation and lead to less free trade. Countries that once relied on each other for goods and services may turn inward, closing off opportunities for mutual growth. The global economy thrives when countries cooperate, sharing goods and ideas. Tariffs, while intended to protect local industries, can create isolation, slow down progress, and make life more expensive for everyone. It's a delicate balance. We need policies that protect local businesses without stifling global cooperation or putting undue strain on consumers. New York, London, Tokyo, Shanghai, Canada. The world seems interconnected, with lines symbolizing trade routes running between countries. In a world that's more connected than ever, where goods and services flow seamlessly across borders, the global economy has come to rely on a delicate balance. But what happens when that balance is shattered? What happens when a single decision, one economic policy, sends ripples across the world? Welcome to the tariff apocalypse. A threat that looms over the global economy, one policy at a time. Tariffs, taxes on imported goods, have always been a tool of economic warfare. Historically, nations have used them to protect local industries or retaliate against unfair trade practices. But the consequences? Often disastrous. Tariffs might seem like an easy fix for a nation's economy, but they create long-term disruption. The Great Depression is a perfect example. The Smoot-Hawley tariff raised import duties on thousands of goods, causing a chain reaction that hurt global trade and deepened the crisis. Today, tariffs have resurfaced as a weapon of choice in trade wars. Between the US and China, Europe and the UK, tariffs have escalated to levels unseen in recent decades. President Donald Trump announcing tariffs on China, then to China's retaliatory measures. In 2018, the United States imposed billions of dollars in tariffs on Chinese goods, prompting retaliatory actions from China. This trade war sent shockwaves through the global economy, affecting everything from manufacturing jobs to supply chains. Tariffs distort global markets. They disrupt the natural flow of goods and services. It's not just about the immediate price increases on products, it's about the long-term damage to international relationships and trust. As tariffs rise, so do the costs of doing business. Companies are forced to raise prices, which hurts consumers. Jobs are lost in industries hit hardest by the new tariffs, while others suffer from the disruption of supply chains. Empty store shelves, people in long lines, and small businesses closing down. Global supply chains, built over decades of cooperation, now become fractured. The interconnectedness that once drove economic growth becomes a liability. What we're seeing is a perfect storm. If tariffs escalate into a full-blown trade war, we risk triggering a global recession. It's not just the economies of the countries directly involved that will suffer, it's the entire world. Is there a way to avert the looming tariff apocalypse? Diplomacy and cooperation may be the key. Trade agreements like the WTO, USMCA, and the EU's single market have shown that, when countries work together, the global economy flourishes. Tariffs are a dangerous tool, but they don't have to define our future. Multilateral trade agreements and open dialogues are essential to avoiding the worst-case scenario. If we don't find common ground soon, the consequences could be catastrophic. The tariff apocalypse is more than just a threat to the global economy, it's a wake-up call. The world must ask, are we prepared to weather this storm, or will our economic future be defined by division, isolation, and uncertainty? Trump's 2025 recession, economic turmoil under the Trump administration. It's 2025, and the United States is once again grappling with economic instability. Under President Donald Trump's second term, what began as promises of economic renewal has spiraled into a nationwide crisis. After years of recovery from the COVID-19 recession, the country finds itself plunged into another recession, this time, with global consequences. Cut to news headlines flashing about the rising unemployment rate and negative GDP growth. The causes: a mix of escalating trade tensions, market volatility, and government policies that critics say have failed to address the structural issues facing the economy. After taking office again in 2025, Trump promised to reignite growth with further tax cuts for corporations and high-income earners, just as he did in his first term. The theory: that by cutting taxes, businesses would be able to invest more, and the wealth would trickle down to workers. Small businesses struggling to stay afloat, workers in factories disheartened. I haven't seen any of the so-called benefits from these tax cuts. My business is barely surviving. It's like the rich are getting richer, and we're stuck. But the tax cuts didn't stimulate broad-based economic growth. Instead, they fueled widening inequality, as corporations and the wealthy pocketed much of the relief. Meanwhile, national debt continued to surge, leaving the economy vulnerable to shocks. Trump's foreign policy, marked by isolationism and protectionism, triggered new trade wars, including a deepening conflict with China. The tariffs on Chinese goods, which had already strained relationships during his first term, intensified. As supply chains broke down, inflation skyrocketed, driving up prices on everyday goods. Footage of grocery store shelves, with rising prices on staple items like food and gasoline. Trade wars with China, combined with erratic foreign policies, left markets unstable. The costs were passed down to consumers, and that pushed inflation to unsustainable levels. The 2025 recession hit hardest in American households. Housing prices collapsed as mortgage rates climbed, and the stock market suffered a brutal crash, wiping out billions of dollars in savings. The banking system showed signs of strain, leading to fears of another financial collapse. Footage of people standing in unemployment lines and for food distribution. By the end of 2025, unemployment surged, especially in industries like manufacturing, agriculture, and retail. The working class, who had been promised a prosperous America, found themselves caught in a spiral of job loss and rising costs of living. We've faced challenges before, and we'll do it again. This country was built by fighters, not quitters. We're going to turn this around, just like we always do. Despite his bold assurances, Trump's response to the recession faced criticism. While he pushed for additional tax breaks and deregulation, many felt his policies failed to address the real underlying causes of the downturn, leaving millions of Americans struggling. Cut to protests in major cities, people demanding better economic relief from the government. We've had enough of the same empty promises. We need real relief now. People are losing everything, and the rich keep getting bailed out. The effects of the US recession rippled across the globe. Trade partners, especially those in Europe and Asia, suffered as American demand plummeted. The world economy, already fragile from the pandemic, teetered on the edge of collapse. As the world braces for the long road to recovery, the questions about Trump's economic legacy grow louder. While his administration promised prosperity, the reality of 2025 has left America with a fragile economy and growing divisions over how to fix it.